Welcome to my first YouTube video. Not sure how this go, but we gonna go. So the M behind me, that's one of my videos at 1 million views. So that's just my encouragement to keep going to myself, all right? I want to share something. Share something I've been processing and just learning about through watching people. It's not coming from a book, it's not coming from anything clerical or clinical. It's just my observation from coaching people, from having conversations, watching relationships, ones that I know and ones in the public eye, the ones we all talking about. And I just want to offer to you a framework, not as like a universal truth, but just something that you can test in your own life and see if it fits. But it's something that I've been noticing a repeated pattern. Okay. So people in general, human nature, most people don't struggle because they don't know better. They struggle because their behavior changes under certain circumstances. And over time, right, you start to notice that people fall into buckets or categories. And these aren't like personality types, they're not character judgments at all. They're just patterns of behavior. Okay. So the first bucket, 70% bucket. So I call it just my 70-20-10. Right. So let me explain what I mean. And I got my smoothie over here too, so I may be sipping. 70% of the time, people operate in what I call their normal behavior. Okay. This is how they usually show up. This is their habits. This is their communication style. This is their baseline behavior, baseline mood. This is how they respond when life gets no. Let me say that again. This is how life is when it's relatively calm, right? So it's not good, it's not bad, it's just this is their default. Okay. For most people, though, this is the experience that you see day in, day out when you're going to work or interacting with people at your kids' school. This is their normal baseline behavior. Got it? 70%. So now there's the 20%. And this is where things get a little interesting. This is what I call the struggle behavior. Okay, 70-20-10. So the 20 is this is when you say start life in a little bit, right? Little pressure gets applied, stress, conflict, fear, disappointment. This is when these things start to creep in and impact the behavior. Uncertainty, it can show up there. So in this zone, people aren't necessarily acting completely out of character, but you can tell by watching their behavior that they're struggling to uphold those same values that's in the first 70% bucket, right? They know how, they know how they want to show up. They just can't seem to do it consistently right now. Something has interfered with their baseline. Okay. This is like the stress zone. This is where frustration lives. This is where people say things like, why do I keep doing this? Like, I should know better. This isn't how I want to show up in this space. This is that space. And a lot of people, I will say, laughing at the show, a lot of people spend a lot of time here. And it's not because they're broken, but hey, maybe life is life, and right? And pressure exposes gaps in their regulation. And this might become their default. I don't know. So that was 20. Here's the last category. This is about 10%. This is what I call their contradictory behavior. So this is when someone acts in a way that is directly contradictory of who they believe they are, of who they usually show up as. Okay? These are the moments where people say, like, I don't know what came over me, or that wasn't me, or I have no idea why I never acted like that before. Right? You hear people justify certain actions, or that's how they describe it. So this is the zone where that happens. This is the scandal zone. This is the blow ups. This is the betrayals. This is the self sabotage. This is that space. And it's not because they're bad. It's not because they're secretly terrible people, but because pressure again exceeded their ability to regulate in that moment. And this is what shows up. Okay. Now, here's the important part. This 70-20-10 framework is not at all about labeling people. It's not saying you're a 70% person or you're a 10%. That's not the goal at all, right? Everyone lives and alternates in those three different zones, if you will. Okay? Depending on the situation, the trigger, the level of stress, the level of awareness, it really can impact, right, how you show up. And so the mistake, though, that people make is thinking growth means never entering the 20% or, worst case, the 10%. That's not realistic, but that's how I used to think. I used to think that if I'm having a great life, I'm always going to be living in that 70. I never go down. But growth is recognizing when you're in your normal behavior, becoming aware when you've slipped into struggle behavior, and learning how to regulate quicker and often so you can get out of that situation, right? So you don't end up in a contradictory behavior in that 10%. And so, again, the goal is never perfection. The goal is always awareness and choices. Awareness plus choices, right? And the reason I'm saying it like that and the reason that I'm sharing this, it's just that it's not to give you another thing to fix or anything to remember, right? It's like I said, it's an observation. It's to give you a lens that you can use to look at your own behavior, especially in relationships, dating. This will relate to leadership, parenting, high pressure moments, right? It's better to ask these questions than to have something that you can work with in the moment. So don't ask what's wrong with me. The correct terminology using my framework is what zone am I in right now? Right? Am I in my normal behavior, my struggle behavior, or contradictory behavior? So if this framework helps you relate with yourself, helps you see a little bit more clear, then it's doing its job. That's it. It's not meant to be Bible. You don't have to agree with it, right? You don't have to adopt it. I'm just using this space to flesh out some ideas, right? I would say just observe your own life and observe the people around you and see if it shows up. See if this fits into your framework. And let me know if this relates or resonates with you. All right? Thank you for coming to my first YouTube video. I hope that wasn't on my lip the whole time.